So I am live. All right, everybody. Good evening. I am live now, and I'm ready. Hope you are ready. I am ready. Hope you are ready. Please join me here. Please do well to share the link to this video when you join. Do well to share the link to this video when you join. I think I'll wait a bit. So I am live now. Do well to join. I am live now. Do well to join. Okay, so I'll be speaking to you today on what I caption the brand structure and metrics to starting. The brand structure and metrics to starting. The brand structure and metrics to starting. If this is your first time, this is the Creative Hangout 2021, hosted by Juliet Ike, the president of Best Africa. Best meaning building exceptional skills and talents. And this is the first time we're going to be having such an event like this. And I'm so delighted and happy that you are part of it. So getting here, your friends who needs to be here, share the link to them. If you're going to be watching this video as a replay, welcome. It's 5:15 p.m. from Nigeria. I'm actually streaming from Nigeria, and I reside in Nigeria, precisely Port Harcourt, Nigeria. So regardless of the time when you're going to be streaming this video, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Okay, so I'm going to wait for a bit so I have more persons to join before I start, so nobody misses out on anything. Thank you. I can see somebody already. Welcome, welcome. I would like to know where you're watching from. You can actually join the chat box or in the comment section. Welcome. I'm so delighted that you're here, and I'm glad that you're here. My name is Juliet Ike, in case you're just joining us for the first time. And this is the Creative Hangout. This is the day 4. Today, we are going to be hosting the United States, and we have a representative from there. His name is Kevin Brown. Like, he's not online currently. Please, you have to pardon the background noise actually. Um, but I want to be sure that you can hear me. So if you can hear me, please let me know in the chat box or in the comment section. If you can hear me, let me know in the chat box. If you can hear me, let me know in the chat box. I know you can see me. Sure, you can see me. But if you can hear me, let me know in the chat box. All right. Like I said, today is day 4 of the Creative Hangouts. And I'm going to be speaking today on the brand structure, metrics to starting, the how of starting. We started this Creative Hangout since Saturday, and we've been discussing the various things a creative should know, how to find yourself, how to know your strengths and your weaknesses, your talent, and you shared a lot since day 1. So if this is your first time actually watching, maybe you didn't join us for those days, please go and watch the replay. The replay is right on this channel. So you're going to see the replay for the day 1, day 2, day 3. try and watch the replay, because that way you'll be able to understand every other thing that I'm going to be sharing with you today. It's important. So try and watch the replay. It's right on this channel. And in case you have not subscribed, this is a good time for you to actually subscribe. Do not forget, because even after this event, I'll still be sharing videos and value on everything that you need to know. So on Monday, I on the first day, sorry, I shared on the foundation and how of creativity is, how creativity emerges, or what and what you should know about being a creative. On the second day, I talked about how you can locate and understand your vision, your life's purpose in view, what and what you need to know about your vision in life and your purpose. I shared that on the second day. On the third day, which was yesterday, I shared journey to mastery and profitable skill acquisition. What I shared, what you should know about skills, how skills are important to the talents that you have, the type, how, what and what you should learn. Sorry, I think it's better this way. What and what you should know when you want to learn any skill. And I shared a lot. I cannot repeat that in this in today's session, because we will not be able to cover today's simply after this session. Okay, that way you're going to learn more, understand more about what I'm going to be sharing in today's session. So today's session, I'm going to be talking about the brand structure. How do you start? What and what do you need to understand about your brand? What and what do you need to understand about starting a brand as a creative? What and what do you need to understand? What are the metrics that you are actually on track? What and what do you look out for in starting a brand? So this is what I'll be sharing with you today. Okay. First off, I'll start by defining what a brand is. A brand is simply what represents you, or what represents the identity, or what represents the structure that you're trying to lay, or what represents the message that you're trying to convey. That is what a brand is. And there are two types of brand. We have brand. Most times when I speak to my clients, or when I'm teaching on brand mastery and brand itself, I usually advise that when you're starting out, it's important that you build a personal brand before a business brand. Because when it comes to brand, what people buy is not the logo, it's not your beautiful logo, it's not the features of your products, but you yourself. They buy you first before they buy what you that you build a strong and viable brand for yourself. Okay, so like I said, if you're just joining, today I'm sharing on the brand structure and the metrics to starting. The brand structure and the metrics to starting. I've shared a lot about what you should know about creativity and everything. Please go and watch the replay in case you have not seen it. It's right on this channel. So today, like I said, I'm going to be sharing on the brand structure and the metrics. So I started by defining what a brand is. I said a brand represents you, it represents the identity, or it's an identity, it's a way of people recognizing you, or recognizing what you do, recognizing the message that you're trying to pass across to them, or recognizing the answers that you're bringing to them, or the solutions that you want to give to them. That is what brand is generally. So it's comprised of both features, steps, strategies, and everything that you're going to be doing in conveying your message to your audience, or to the people that need it. I usually say this, that before you can say you have a brand or you're building a brand, you definitely need to have a solution to a particular problem, or some problems that people are actually going through. So what people buy from you is solutions that you bring to the table. They're not buying your products because you have a wonderful product. They're not buying your services. They are not offering to take any of you are offering the services. They are buying the solution that those services can give to them. So take for instance, you know how to Take for instance, you know how, thank you so much for joining. I can see Tini Splash. Thank you so much. So take for instance, you know how to design, or you know how to build websites. And I website for me. I come to you because I know you know how to build the websites and you can build the kind of website that I love. That is me. That means I am buying a solution because I cannot build a website myself. So I'm buying the solution from you. So that is what brand entails. Brand entails, it simply means you have a solution to people's problems. And you will now have an identity, a structure, you have a model in which people can now reach out to you in taking these solutions that you brand means in simple terms. Okay, so it's important that you know that. Okay, our guest is actually here. I'm going to have him shortly. Hi,
Hello, hello.
good
Good morning
afternoon.
from here.
Oh, it's morning over there.
Yes, it's morning. It's 11:25 in the morning here. I was in the
It's
middle of
afternoon.
something.
Oh, no problem. So I'd earlier talked about you, but I think I'll have to do that again. So Kevin Brown here is a life coach, and he's our rep for the United States. Remember, I told us that we are having this event is actually being streamed in 5 countries. So he's one of the rep, and today is actually him on board. And what he is going to be doing shortly is to introduce himself, talk about what you need to know about him and his brand. Then we move forward. So, Kevin Brown, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Let me take off my jacket here so that way I just came from outside. It is very cold today. I am Kevin J. Brown. I'm living here in Georgia, United States, as a life coach. The focus that I have as my particular brand is aligning humanity with identity and purpose. Identity is who we are. Purpose is what we do. Humanity is what we do for and among each other. And when we align with that, it helps us to set us on the path to where we are supposed to go. Um, I first started having conversations online back on YouTube, I believe, back in 2014, when somebody suggested that I would should do YouTube, and then after a while, I started being on more platforms like on Instagram and eventually Facebook. I also had a blog at one time, discussing a lot about my experiences. And it's really from there that I first started with the idea of connecting humanity with purpose. And in that particular, my particular focus was on purpose. In fact, I focused a lot on trying to connect with purpose because I believe that it was purpose where we could find who we are. It wasn't until I started having more communications with people that I recognized that a lot of people were trying to identify with the purpose, but they weren't clear about who they were themselves first. And because of that, I started changing up my motto to aligning humanity with identity and purpose. Because when you know who you are and you know what you're put here to do, it makes it easier for you to find your own humanity and to connect with the humanity with others. And that's the path that you can take from that point forward. Since that time of really taking the time to really build that particular brand and that mantra, I have done a lot of online events, both especially outside of the country, I should say. I've done it here too, but especially outside of the country, especially here in Africa. And that's kind of like where many people have really started to know and connect with me. Um, and even back in 2018, I started a group on WhatsApp called CBIM, which is Change Begins in Me as an acronym. And from there, we've been really starting to grow. Very recently, we're actually planning to expand more in the upcoming year for 2022. Have amazing people with me, and I'm excited for what's to come. So for me and my brand, my job and my focus as a life coach and a social influencer is ensure that who you are and what you're doing is connected with not only with yourself, but with other people and getting you on the right path to getting that accomplished and starting your journey throughout life.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I don't know if anyone has any questions for me, but in case you have any, this is a great time to start asking them.
Okay. All right. Sorry. If you have questions, Mr. Kevin is still here, so he's going to be here to answer your questions. Probably we can have the question and answer maybe towards the end of the session. I hope that's fine by you.
Oh no, that's no problem. Thank you anyway for the introduction. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. And please just stay at the back end, and when it's time for the question and answer, I'm going to bring you on board.
So, no problem.
All right. Thank you. Okay, guys. I was talking about branding, or let me say a brand, and I started by defining what a brand is. And I said brand is what represents you, what represents the message that you have, what represents the value that you can give to people. So the next thing I'm going to be defining is structure, because the topic today is the brand structure and the metrics to starting. Remember, on the second day, I talked about how you can locate and discover your vision and everything I said. And I remember towards the end, I said something. I said, start, just start. A lot of us, we're actually waiting for the perfect time. We say we are waiting for the perfect time, but really there is no perfect time. So it's important that you start even in your imperfect state. Do you understand? I remember today I was just going back, trying to retrack how I started. I started actually in 2018. That was the first time I made the attempt of building a brand. In fact, I didn't know what it was called, but I just knew I was just ready to, be out there and do what matters, or do what I'm expected to do. So I started by hosting an event. I tagged Poet de la Cruz. It was actually a concert where I had lots of creatives to, come showcase their talent and all of that. And really, that was like the highlights of my year. Like I'd never, in fact, that was like my first time of being, meeting people, trying to connect or network with people, because I've always been behind the doors. Like I was before that time, I used to be very shy. Like I could not stand in front of anybody to just communicate. Even though I was in my final year, that was the year I graduated actually. So even as a graduate, I was still battling with a lot of things. Do you understand? But I started that way. Like I knew I wasn't perfect. I knew I didn't have it all figured out, but I just had to start because it was just important that I started. All right. I loved the energy you're bringing to this class. Thank you so much for joining us. Like this is really a big deal. Thank you so much. So that was how I started. There are a lot of persons that if they tell you their own story of how they started building their brand, like you'll be shocked, because nobody started building their brand perfectly. Everybody just had one or two things in their mind when they started. So the same thing, you have a beautiful idea. Remember yesterday I told you something, that no matter how intelligent or how smart you are, nobody is ever going to walk up to you one day and say you are the smartest person. But until you put out yourself there, like you put yourself on the map, you put yourself on that space where people can actually see that you are smart, nobody's ever going to commend you for being smart. So no matter how good you think you are, if you don't come out to prove that you are actually good, nobody is ever going to know that you're good. And that's why you need to be able to put yourself out there, like showcase yourself. You should be your first motivation. You should not wait for anybody to, always force you and try to inspire and inspire. Inspiration will not come every time. It will not come all the time. So you need to get up yourself and do what you're supposed to do. Is when people now see that, oh, you're doing something already, you're doing something valuable already, then they can now decide to be a part of it. But if you're not doing anything and you're waiting for people to just come around and start asking you, what do you want to do? Nobody's ever going to do that, because man, everybody is busy minding their business. Everybody has problems to solve. We all have different challenges that we are facing at one point or the other. So nobody's ever going to leave their own challenges for you. Like, they will leave their own challenges and come after you to help you. It's not possible. Like, it's not possible. You need to be out there. You need to put yourself out there. So I'm grateful, or let me say, I'm happy that I'm going to be teaching you how you can actually start even from zero. I'm going to be using more of my own story, because what you don't have, you cannot give. So I'm going to be sharing more of the experiences that I've actually had to that I've had building my own personal brand. So like I said, also I said, when you're building a brand, it is important that you start by building a personal brand first. Sometimes you see people, they just suddenly wake up and tell you, oh, I want to start selling shoes. They have logo, they have beautiful designs. That is not all what brand is about. In fact, that is the least part of branding. You see designs, you see logo, you see flyer. That is the least part of branding. If people don't understand what your brand can solve, they don't even know anything about your brand. You're just putting out logo. Like, logo is not going to bring money to the table. Logo is not going to solve people's problem. So you need to be able to clearly define what your brand is about before you even go into, taking up the physical parts or the design part of your brand. So it's important for you to also note that. So yes, I'm telling you to start, but I did not tell you to start by designing logo or designing flyers. That is not the first thing. So you need to first of all sit down, analyze, calculate what is my brand going to be about? What solutions do I want to give to people? What do I want to be doing for people? These are the critical part of branding. So you need to first of all list out the things you can help people with, the problems you can help people solve. So after you might have done all of these things, then you list out your brand, your goals, your brand message. Let it be clearly listed before you even talk about designs. So these are the most critical part of branding. Let me give you an instance. Recently, I hosted a training called the Skill to Cash webinar. And for the first time, I did not do a design. Like, I didn't do any flyer for this training. And guess what? I had 22 registered participants for that training. And I didn't run ads, of course. I only leveraged on my WhatsApp, and I was just trying to tell people to, share. I was just I never sent a broadcast to tell people you must register for this. Do you understand? So the reason why I did that intentionally, because I was I wanted to see if I could actually sell this course without a design. And trust me, I did. So most times it's not even about the design, it's not about the plenty flyer that you're doing, it's not about the logo. I was supposed to I'm actually going through a rebrand process right now, and there are some of I've understood that I made a lot of mistakes when I started. I did a lot. Even this year, I've made mistakes, and that's why clarity is a journey. You don't arrive at clarity in a day. It's something you need to just keep building on, because the more you build on it, the more it becomes clear to you, or clearer to you. So I was saying something. I said I'm actually going through a rebrand process, and at a point, I was in a haste to introduce people to the brands that had already done and everything that I had done. But I had a second thought. I said, no, let me work more on my brand process. Let me work more on my brand, so that when I eventually introduce this brand to the world, I know that when somebody comes, I have answers to give to them. I have solutions to give to them. They're not going to come and I'll start thinking, okay, I think I'll get back to you. No, it doesn't show seriousness. And that's why even before you start, you need to know what and what. You have goals. You need to set goals, achievable goals. You need to ask yourself, what and what do I want my brand to meet? What services do I want to offer with my brand? What solutions do I want to give offer to people with my brand? Who and who do I want to meet with this brand? Yesterday I talked more about okay, not yesterday, on the second day, I talked more about how you can discover your strength and your weakness, what you should be doing. I even gave assignments. I said you should go and list out the things you can do and the things you cannot do. That way you can be able to figure out where to even start. Because one challenge that I've also realized about creatives is that we are so we have a lot to like we have a lot coming to our head and we want to do everything at once. It's not possible. I used to face that challenge before. Someone like me, like I have a lot of things that I can do. And at some point I had to, weigh my options, whereby I now list out, like I'm very careful of taking any idea that comes to my head. I don't just take ideas that come to my head, because I've also understood that some ideas that I have are not necessarily for me. Probably it's for my clients, probably it's for somebody that is about to meet me and ask me questions about something. Probably no, I begin to understand that not all ideas that come to my head is actually for me. Some ideas are not for you. Do you understand? So I know that doing your research or doing your clarity or your journey, you will always want to think that everything that comes to you will be like they might be brilliant ideas, but they might not necessarily be for you. This is another thing you should note as a creative. Let me not digress. So let's move on to structures. What are brand structures? Brand structures are simply the step, the processes, the different stages that your brand is going to take. Just like butterfly, they metamorphose into different stages. They go from larva to, that stages they go through. The same thing applies to your brand. So there are different stages that your brand is supposed to take through. I'm sorry, I'm speaking big English, but don't worry, I'm going to bring it down. Okay, so there are different stages your brand is supposed to go through. This is what will bring about the brand itself. So it comes first with an idea. Probably you could let me say you're very good with catering. It comes first with an idea. You have this idea to start a catering business. You don't go the next day and tell a graphic designer, do a flyer, a logo for me, like a pot like stuff. And we know how we disturb graphic designers to just do logo for us in our head. Okay, the same way. You're not supposed to start from there. When you have an idea about your catering business, yesterday I talked about skills. You need to first of all ask yourself, do I have the required skills to go into catering? Because what you're cooking in your house is not what you're going to cook for others to eat. You need to brush up your skills. Even though you can cook from birth. I know some of us, we say we are very talented at cooking. Fine. But regardless of how good you are with cooking, there is a necessity that is placed on you for you to actually learn skills that will help your cooking skills or help your cooking talents, basically. So you need to first of all ask yourself, okay, if I want to venture into catering, what and what do I need? Do I know how to cook this kind of delicacy? What I'm going to cook, is it something that other person can eat, or is it something that I can just eat? By the time you analyze all of those things, then you know your weaknesses. Probably your weakness is that you don't know how to cook very well. You enroll for a cooking, maybe a cooking school or a catering school. From there, by the time you now brush up your catering skills, you can now come back to asking yourself, okay, if I start cooking, what do I start with? Am I going to start with just jollof rice, fried rice, or am I starting with soup and okra, soup and gari, or am I starting? You list it out. By the time you now list, you now ask yourself, okay, who are my targeted audience? My location. Maybe you are located in Port Harcourt, for instance. I'm actually in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. So maybe I'm in Port Harcourt and I'm like, okay, I want to cover this part. I want to start with this area first before I spread to other places in Port Harcourt. Fine. After you might have, defined or state that clearly, then you now move on to asking yourself, okay, how many persons do I start cooking for? Should I start with 5 persons? Do I start with 3 persons? By the time because you're just starting, you cannot tell me that you want to start cooking 1 bag of rice the first day you're starting your business. It's not possible. So these are processes, these are stages you need to take through, you need to pass through before you arrive at the brand that you want to build. So it is very important for you to note all of it, because this is what will help you when you eventually start your business or your brand. I hope you're following. Please, hope I'm not the only person here. Um, You're following, drop some fire emoji, please, so that I know I'm not alone. All right. So I've defined brand, I've defined structures. Then I want to move on to how to start. How to start. Yes, you've heard it a lot of times. Start anyhow. Start wherever you want to. Start. You don't need to sleep. In fact, I tell people start anyhow. But as much as I want you to start anyhow, I do not want you to encounter too many challenges starting. And that's why the place of mentorship cannot be overemphasized. No matter how talented or skillful you think you are, or intelligent you think you are, there are people who are already doing what you're doing. And that's why you need to learn from them. The place of learning can also not be overemphasized. You need to learn. You need to learn from people that are already doing what you're doing, because trust me, no matter what you want to do now, someone else has already done something like that. Probably not exactly the same way, but somebody has done something related to it. Take it or leave it. That's just the truth about life. So, for instance, I call myself a skill and a talent strategist. What I do is actually what someone else somewhere or somebody is already doing. But then what makes the difference between what I'm doing and what the person's doing is my strategies, the steps, my style of doing it. The way I'm doing it, the other person is not doing it that way. And that is the beauty about being a creative, because no matter how you think people want to copy you, they cannot do it the way you're doing it. That's why I just laugh when people say, I cannot teach this person this thing, I don't want them to be better than I am. It's only inferiority that will actually make you think that somebody is going to be better than you are, because nobody can do it the way you do it. That's just it. Nobody can teach the way I'm teaching now. Take it or leave it. It's only me that can teach like this. So no matter how you think you're good, no matter how good you think you are, you still need mentorship, you need training, you need to learn. And that's why you need to learn under people that are already doing similar things to what you want to start doing. So it's important for you to note that. So while starting, what are the things you need to know while starting? What are the things you need to know while starting? So this is what I want to share with you right now. Please, before I continue, if you're here, drop some fire emoji. Like, I really want to be sure that I'm not here alone. I want to be sure that I'm not here alone. Please, let me see your comments. Even though if it's not a fire emoji, let me see your comments so I know I'm not alone. Please, 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 please. And please, if you know someone who is supposed to be here and is not here, just share the link to this video on your channel, on your YouTube. Just share it to them so they can be part of it. Okay, so I said I'm going to be sharing the steps to starting. The steps to starting. The first step to starting is define your brand. You need to define your brand. As much as everybody is telling you, start anyhow, don't worry, just start anyhow. It is important that you define your brand. And by defining your brand, I mean you're defining your brand goal, you're defining your brand message, you're defining your brand audience, you're defining the people you want to reach with your brand. You're defining the solution you want to solve with your brand. You're defining the steps that you want to take in reaching these people. Is it on social media? Is it going to be physical? Yesterday I talked about different kind of skills, and I talked about mental skills and mental or soft skills and physical skills as well. So do you want to start physically? Do you want to start teaching people physically, or you want to start online? You need to define them. So define what your brand is. Define your brand goals, your brand message. By the time you have defined it, then that's like the first step to starting. You need to define your brand. Thank you so much, Samuel, for joining. I can see your comments. Thank you so much. So you need to define your brand message. You need to define what your brand is going to be doing. Like, Is my brand going to be meeting children, adults, male or female? Define it. What is your brand message? My brand message is so 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 so. Define it. What and how do I want to reach these people? Either physical contact or online. Define it. So this is like the first step that you need to take in defining in starting. Sorry, this is the first step you need to take in starting. The second step you need to take in starting is understanding the market of your brand. You need to understand the market of your brand. Remember, I said something that whatsoever thing that you want to do now or you are doing, someone else is already doing it. So you need to understand the market. Understanding the market is you understanding the lapses that has taken place or the lapses that you're seeing in the industry of your brand. Take for instance, you want to start a fashion brand. There are a lot of lapses in the fashion brand. What will make you sell? What will make people, get attracted to you is when you are doing something that other persons are not doing. So maybe there are lapses in the fashion industry, and these are the things that your brand wants to cover. You will see that within the shortest period of time, people begin to know you, people begin to get attracted to you, people begin to pay you. Why? Because your brand is meeting a particular need that nobody has ever met. So I said the first one, you need to define your brand. The second one, you need to understand your brand market. You need to understand the market behind your brand. That way, you're starting with research. You're researching, you're trying to find out this company and this company, have they been, what do they do? What are their lapses? How can my brand solve these problems that they have not paid attention to? These are the things that you need to pay attention to. Okay, so it's important. So beyond just having the beautiful idea of starting a brand, it is important that you also pay attention to the lapses or to the vacuum in which other person has not, other people in your brand industry has not solved. So this is the second thing you need to know. The third thing you need to know is how. How do I communicate my brand? Because it's a different thing to actually have a beautiful idea and it's another thing to communicate. If you don't know how to communicate your brand, people will always miscommunicate what your brand does. I remember at a point I had to start asking people, if you hear the name Juliet Ike, what do you think I do? A lot of people were just giving me different answers. Some persons said leadership, some persons were like motivation, some persons were like, they were just giving me a lot of things. And from that point, I knew that my brand was miscommunicated. So you need to be able to communicate your brand. And that was one of the things I had to like start working on immediately, which even brought about the rebrand process that I am going through. So if your brand is miscommunicated, even though you have the solutions, people will not come to you because they don't understand what your brand does. And that's why it's important for you to communicate your brand. Know how to communicate your brand. You can be the best fashion designer in the world, but if people don't understand the styles, your brand styles, they don't understand how you twerk things to make your brand look beautiful. They don't understand what you do to put the effort that you put in, how you are trying to help them. They will not still come to you because your brand is miscommunicated. So you need to know how to communicate your brand first. Okay, the first one I said you need to define what your brand is. The second one I said you need to understand your brand market. And the third one is you need to know how to communicate your brand. The next one, you need to know the channels of communication. If you know that the brand that you're about to start building, you don't need to pay attention online first. Leave online and go offline. Currently, I work in a school where it's an adult school where I teach. And I remember when I first started working in that school, my boss actually told me something. He said the reason why I left social media for a while was because I wanted to build my brand and the physical presence and not just online presence. Trust me, if your audience are not online, I know everybody is telling you go digital, go online. That is where the happening things. That's where it's happening. Trust me, if your audience is not online, you will keep wasting your energy, your strength, striving to build online. Meanwhile, your audience are not there. And that's why you need to understand your audience. Apart from the fact that yes, you have a beautiful message to communicate to people or a beautiful solutions to give to people, you need to know where your audience are. The platforms. I'm not saying that you should not build your brand online. No, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying while you want to start, pay more attention to where your audience are. Pay more attention to where you can reach your audience, because you are starting because you have an audience. That is even the first thing. Because if you don't have audience, why are you starting? Imagine you are selling something and you don't have somebody, you don't know the people that need what you are selling. That's a waste of time, because you end up probably eating, or just sharing, distributing to people, giving people free of charge what you are selling, because you don't even know the people who are supposed to be buying from you. So while you want to start, pay more attention. Where are my audience? If your audience are online, ask yourself, are they on YouTube? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Don't waste all your time trying to build on platforms where you don't have your audience. Build your platforms where your audience are, and that's where that takes you back to the to understanding your brand market. I told you something that you need to research. So in your research process, you need to ask yourself, what and what do my audience need? What is that part? What is that need that they have that has not been met? What is that thing that has not been done as regards what my brand is supposed to do for them? These are the things that will bring. See, once you understand all of these things, starting is just like this. But one of the things that gets people stuck is because they don't even know the next step to take. Like, they don't know the next thing to do. And that's because the foundation, they did not take time to actually define it. So it's important that you pay attention to all of these things. Is By the time you can figure out these things, it will help you. Remember, I said clarity is a journey. I know that it's not possible for you to actually, figure out everything at once. It's not possible. Do you understand? It's not possible for you to figure everything at once. But trust me, by the time you can, figure out a bit of it, at least it will help you, so that when you start, you're not stuck, you're not confused, you know the next thing to do. I'm sharing this because this is like part of the challenges I faced. Remember, I told you you need to learn. That's one of the things that took me time. Like, I made a lot of mistakes that I did not learn from other people. I just started because I was so passionate, I was so zealous, I just wanted to start. Remember, when everybody's telling you just start, just start, just start. Yes, just start, but understand there are certain things you need to understand before starting, so that you don't start and get lost. You don't start and get tired, because even when you're tired, the people who are telling you to start are not the people, they might not be there. So you need to know that you're your first, motivator, you're your first inspiration to starting. Passion is good, but passion is not enough. Passion will not bring food to your table. I'm already digressing, but I don't know. I just had to chip that in. Okay, so by the time you can define all of these things, it's give you an head gear. You have a direction. You have like you're not confused. You know what to do. It's just like you want to travel, and you already know the next route to take after you get to a particular destination. The same thing. You might not know everything. Do you understand? But by the time you keep working on it daily, it begins to get clearer to you. Okay. I would end by saying, I'll end by actually sharing or doing a recap of everything that I've already said. I started by defining a brand. I said a brand is what represents you, what you do, and like it's like the interface between yourself and your audience. And I said something, I said there are two types of brand. We have personal brand, we have business brand. And it's important. I said something that is important for you to actually build your personal brand before your business brand, because people are not going to buy your logo, they're not going to buy the features of your product, they're going to buy you first before they buy your brand. So if people don't know the name behind your brand, they will not buy. Take for instance, you see actors and actresses. When they started as actors and actresses. Before you know it, they start venturing into entrepreneurship. They have one business or the other. Do you know that if they introduce their business, people start buying immediately? Why? Because they already have a name. The same thing applies. So you should be able to build a name first before you now say, okay, I want to start this business. Okay. And after then, I talked about I defined what structure is, the different structures, what and what you should know before starting, and I shared the different steps to starting. So we are going to wrap up this session by bringing up our guest, Kevin Brown. Is actually at the back end. So I'm going to give him the opportunity. I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask him questions before we wrap up this session. So in case you have questions, please drop it in the comments, then we can wrap up this session. Okay, I'm coming, just a minute.
Oh, I'm back.
All right, welcome back. For me, I think it's just one person that is online, but I'll just like let me represent them by asking you questions. That's fine.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, so I have like let me say three questions to ask you. So the first one is, when you started, what was it like? Like, did you just wake up one day and start posting? You just started sharing things. You know, just tell us a bit.
Okay, so I first got started. Actually, what made me start was back in 2014. Was I was following someone on YouTube, and I was actually giving some advice then, just kind of like echoing some thoughts that I had, and some people were saying like you sound good. Why don't you start thinking of having like a YouTube channel? And so I started off with that. So everything kind of started from a suggestion, like, why don't you do it? Why don't you do a YouTube channel? And from that point, I just started posting my thoughts. Like the video that I was watching was like a dating or relationship video or something like that. But everything I was talking about was never really dealing with, dating or relationship. It was always about, how to, view yourself, like sharing my experiences to help people, have a relationship with themselves. And it's kind of always
Yeah.
been like that from the beginning, from 2014. But over time, it ended up evolving, from posting on videos of that to, being able to connect with people and being able to gain experiences from them. So, and from gaining experiences from them, it helped me to really figure out what I wanted to do with my own life. So the start of it came from someone suggesting, but the continuation of it has always been from connecting with people and sharing sharing my ideas and my perspective from those connections. Always kind of been that way and just evolved ever since then.
Wow, that's amazing. I think we all have a connection between how we started. For me, I actually don't know why I want to chip this in before we continue. For me, I think it was I wasn't just okay with what was happening in my environment. I studied sociology in school, so when I started reading books, I started reading histories about countries and the different challenges and everything. I was actually angry because I was like, why would all of these things be happening? Like, I was really angry, and I was like, everybody has this knowledge, and no one is trying to
Right.
apply it, physically. Everybody has, there are lots of people that they are very intelligent, they have a lot of information, like they know histories, but there are still challenges. So it's a different thing for you actually to know something and for you to apply what you know. Okay, so thank you so much for your response. So the second question is, what was it like starting? Was it difficult? What were the challenges you faced when you started? So just let us know.
One of the difficulties in starting was I've always kind of done content from the sake of what other people needed, or what I felt like other people may have needed. And it took me a long time to find a difference between doing content that you believe other people need versus having a genuine desire to really share something that you believe is valuable. And they're not always the same thing. So from the gate, that was kind of like the issue that I had. It took me. I started in 2014 with YouTube, and then I ended up getting into Instagram in 2015 because the old phone that I had was damaged, and so because of that, I had to spend time more on Instagram than on YouTube, and so with all those kind of like detours that in the long run kind of helped me to figure out where I wanted to be in life, I had to really learn the difference between figuring out what other people were needing versus what I wanted to really do and go forward with that. And sometimes when you're doing content, whether you're doing video or whether you're doing, photography work or whether you're doing any type of content, it's always tends to be about at some point it always becomes about what other people need because you start to gain the attention and things like that, and you can really
Yeah,
lose yourself very easily in
easily.
trying to gain the validation of people, and so you really have to be confident within
Yeah.
yourself to know what it is that you're looking for. The second thing that I came across with a lot of, like I was talking about, with a lot of setbacks, starting with my camera and my phone being damaged. The camera on the phone was damaged, so because of that, it would not allow me to take any pictures on that phone. I think I had I think I had an Apple iPhone at that time, back in 2015, and so I always had to end up trying to find another way to do certain things. I've always been able to try to adapt and try to find another way to do
Mm,
things. Um, and that setback and trying, and once I got another phone, it was me trying to find another way to connect because I didn't have the old way, and so there was
yeah.
always something that was coming along. But it actually worked out for my good in the end
Yeah.
because it really led me to where I really wanted to be, and really starting to find myself along the way. So it was a setback, but it was also something that worked towards what I needed in the end. I think the third
Yeah.
issue was and then one last issue, and then we'll just go on to the next question because I don't want to take too long. The third issue was really trying to find people to really connect with. It's
Mm,
one thing to have people who like what you do.
yeah.
It's another thing when you have people who are actually connected with you, so that way they are actually
Yeah.
gain that they are actual genuine support, whether they're
Yeah.
partners or whether they're loyal fans of the content that you do.
Yeah.
And it took me a hard lessons to discern the
Wow.
difference between those who are just followers versus those who are actual supporters and those who are actually being
Yeah.
able to assist with what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And once I was able to try to connect and find my own tribe, it made it easier for me to figure out what it is I wanted to connect to. And it made it easier for
Yeah.
me to find out where my audience was and be able to dedicate my particular content in that regard and my particular services to people as well. But all these
Yeah.
things really worked out to refine me and present the best in me. So those were still my challenges.
Wow, that's amazing. I think at some point I began to see some of the challenges I actually went through, especially the third one you mentioned. You know, and that brings me to my next question. How did your friends or your family, how did they handle the situation? Because you see a lot of creatives, like most creatives, what they are battling with right now is the ability for their friends or their family to really understand what they are doing. Everybody feels white collar job is the main thing. They want to see you leave their house in the morning, go out and come back. They just want you to leave the house. So take for instance, maybe you're into online marketing and they are like asking, what do you do online? Like, we don't know what you do, we don't know your office, we don't know. Do you understand? So
Right.
like these are like the challenges that most creative face. like I have an experience, like I cannot share that right now because it was really terrible. Even till now, it's still something that I am working on. And although one of the things that I've realized that actually shuts that kind of argument is results, but it might not come every time. Success might not be like daily stuff that you're going to enjoy or experience. Do you get? So these are like challenges that most creative are actually facing. So I would like you to just say brief, then we wrap the session. So how were they able to, control or understand, relate with what you were doing?
I think at one point there was a time where I wasn't really telling anybody, what I was doing. And that part of the reason for that was because I too felt as if I didn't really have that type of job like that. And so I think at some point, once I started coming out more and more about it, I think that, they're either very supportive or they are at least, watching, from afar to see what I may be doing. I've learned to take that. I've learned to be mindful of who is supporting me and who's watching from afar. And I recognize that in any regard, especially when we talk about, the how we see jobs, the white collar job thing, that stuff. I think when it comes to family and friends, everybody has the best interest at heart for us, especially when it comes to the idea of what is supposed to be a job, what is the way to bring in income and things like that. And in that regard, I have been mindful of those who have been, doing the best they can to support, whether it's just watching or whether it's actually helping in that regard, helping in some type of regard. I think when it comes to my friends and my family, in particular my family has been very, very helpful. I had my sister who sent me a coaching a book at one point. My dad has been very supportive. I love my dad. I love how much he has been helpful to me, and my stepmom as well. And I just keep that in mind. I always focus my best on those who support me. And the more I focus on my supporters, the more that I feel supported, the more that I feel as if, I'm able to help because I have that support around. And so that's how I view things. I have a great supportive family. I'm honored and privileged because I know that for a lot of people they don't have that. So I'm just grateful.
Wow, that's amazing. Well done. Thank you so much for your time. Really, I still have a lot of questions I would ask you, but probably we'll do that some other time so we can wrap up this session. So thank you so much. I don't know if there is anyone here who has a question. You can just drop it in the chat box. I'm going to read it out. They will call it a wrap. So while that is going on, tomorrow is the last day for this. I can't believe I actually said that. Tomorrow is the last day. And yeah, it's going to be amazing, definitely. We're going to be teaching on understanding the business of your talent, the journey to entrepreneurship, finance, and money making. I know a lot of us creatives, we are still confused on how we can actually monetize, despite the fact that monetization has become like a daily thing in everybody's mouth. Somebody's telling you you need to monetize your knowledge, yet a lot of people don't know how to monetize. They don't know how to, when they should, the right time for them to actually introduce to a client and tell the person you're no longer, there is no more freebies. It's now time for you to, pay for a service. There are a lot of people who shy away from that because they feel they'll be chasing away their followers. And like you said, there are followers and there are supporters. So not everybody following you is actually supporting you. So people are actually following you just to learn. So you need to be able to differentiate from people who are just following and people who are supporting, and the people who are going to buy when you eventually have a product. So tomorrow we are going to be tracing that, and please make sure you're part of it. So there is no question yet. So I will believe everybody understood, or maybe you're okay with the session. All right. Thank you so much once again, Kevin.
I
Okay.
definitely
You want
enjoyed
to
the
say
session.
something?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I'm going to see you at the back end. Hopefully, you're going to join us tomorrow.
I should be here tomorrow. Hopefully, I won't be too busy. I got some stuff that I have to take care of, but I'll do my best to be here.
All right, no problem. Thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so
Sure.
much. Bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today's live stream. Yesterday, I announced that there were opportunities. There were certain opportunities that are available. I shared them to the groups yesterday. I'm still going to reshare it so that you can be part of it. One of which is my strategy session. If you know that you still have questions to your heart that you need answers to, you should take part or take advantage of my strategy session, strategy session with me, and we're going to trash things out. The second is the profitable skill acquisition bundle. You know, you don't know the skills to learn. I know yesterday I talked about skill acquisition and all of that, but probably you still need a guide to the skills that you need to learn. You can take advantage of that. I have a lot more for you. I'm going to be announcing that tomorrow since it's the final day. So make sure you're live here with me tomorrow by 5 p.m. West African time and 7 p.m. East African time. So make sure you are part of it. Make sure you invite your friends. Also, we had a little turnout for people viewing today. We want to see the energy tomorrow. Like, we want to see more persons online with us tomorrow. Thank you all so much. I remain Juliet Ike. And lastly, if you have not joined with the community, I'm still going to reshare that link. Yes, I told us that this event is hosted, that I'm the host of this event. But I don't do this alone. I have a community of over 5,800 creatives, and it's a community on Facebook. We have a group on Facebook and on Telegram. You should be part of it. What we do basically on that community is that we come together, creatives. We come together. We try to learn from ourselves. We learn from each other. With this, we build influence, we build impact with what we have, with the value that we can give, and also we give opportunities to creatives, opportunities in terms of scholarship, fellowships, books, resources, like a lot. We share a lot on the community. The link is actually on the group. So make sure you join. It's called Best Africa. Best meaning building exceptional skills and talents. It's a community of creatives, and you should be there because I believe that by the time you start seeing people who are doing what you're doing, that way it will inspire you to to be better and do more. Okay, so make sure you're part of the community. I'm going to reshare the link on the group. Remember all the announcements I made. Do not miss out on any. Fingers crossed, and I will see you tomorrow. If you have questions, feel free to slide into my DM. If you've not saved my contact, feel free to slide into my DM and get it saved because I share a lot of value in my tribe. So make sure you do not miss out. And finally, please go to the group, go to your group and tell us how this session was for you. Give us a review, like a review or a feedback or an appraiser. Let everybody on the group know that yes, there is value here and that we are not wasting our time here. Okay, I'll be looking forward to that. Thank you all so much. I remain Juliet K, a skill and a talent strategist from Nigeria, the host, the Creative Hangout, and also the founder, Best Africa. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.